Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Now, if you're focused on understanding exactly how modern industry is transforming right now, and more importantly, how it's actually generating measurable, real-world gains from connected tech, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating module focused squarely on industry gain from IoT. We're going to take a deep dive into the strategic framework that defines how major industrial players aren't just, using technology, but actively embracing the industrial Internet of Things to fundamentally architect entirely new value. It's about zooming out, moving way beyond just the hardware, and really looking at the big picture strategy. So, right off the bat, we have to ask, where does the real value actually lie in the industrial Internet of Things? This is the core problem we're going to tackle today. Because, let's be honest, it is so tempting to think the value is just in the connection itself, right? Like just slapping a sensor on a machine or hooking a legacy factory up to a Wi-Fi network. Boom, done. But as our source material reveals, the actual value proposition is way more dynamic than that. It is not just about the physical connection, it's literally all about the data that flows through that connection and how business leaders choose to wield it. I want you to keep this question in the back of your mind as we go, because the answer requires a complete shift in how we view digital strategy and value creation in an industrial setting.
Okay, let's dive right into this first major section. Embracing industrial IoT. So the Industrial Internet of Things, or IIoT, as defined by our source context, is the framework where industrial players embrace connected technology to generate industry gains and drive new data strategies. Now, we really have to start by establishing what's actually happening on the ground before we get into the high-level boardroom strategies. And honestly, that word embrace is the absolute key here. It implies a fundamental integration into a company's operational DNA. It's not just a cool add-on or a pet project for the IT department. It's a massive shift away from isolated, unconnected legacy systems and into a completely unified framework. When an industrial player successfully embraces IIoT, they aren't just modernizing their gear. They're unlocking the ability to generate entirely new industry gains. And as we're going to see, the main vehicle for those gains is a newly defined, highly strategic approach to their data. Let's move to and see how this builds our next critical area, the data ecosystem strategy. Once that technology is embraced and the data is finally flowing, the whole conversation elevates. We move off the factory floor and directly into the hands of business leaders. The source module lays out exactly what's at stake here for executives, because they have to be incredibly deliberate. First up, they have to examine their company's data assets. Like, what specific information are these connected machines actually generating? Second, and guys, this is a massive paradigm shift, they have to consider how their company might offer that data out to an ecosystem of partners. I mean, really think about that for a second. Historically, industrial data was locked away in these tight silos. It was highly guarded because hoarding information felt like a competitive advantage. But today, keeping data siloed is actually a huge liability. To gain the most value, which is our third point here, leaders have to strategize on how to safely and profitably push that outbound data into a much broader ecosystem. And that brings us to the next crucial phase, integrating third-party data. So offering data out is really only one half of the equation. To truly architect value, leaders have to look in the completely opposite direction as well. And this brilliantly illustrates the strategic balancing act that business leaders are juggling right now. On one hand, over on the left, we've got offering data out, providing your company data to an ecosystem of partners to grab that maximum value. But on the flip side, we have bringing data in, the mandate to incorporate third-party data. It is a totally bi-directional flow of value. Business leaders have to constantly evaluate both avenues at the same time, asking themselves, which data do we offer up to our partners to maximize our value footprint? And conversely, what data do our partners or third parties have that we desperately need to plug into our own systems? It's a real game changer because you simply don't have to generate all the insights internally anymore. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the ultimate goal of incorporating all that third-party data. It's to enhance their services. The source text is super specific about this outcome. You definitely don't just bring in third-party data for the sake of having more data. We all know that just creates noise and operational bloat. Nobody wants that. You incorporate third-party data specifically to enhance your own company's services. Whether that's predicting machine maintenance months before a catastrophic failure even happens, optimizing your global supply chains based on external weather data, or refining a product based on how partners are actually using it, the end goal of bringing data in is always a tangible service enhancement. Which brings us to our final section for today, blending analytics and IoT. So we have this incredible, bustling, two-way street of data flowing out to partners for value and flowing in from third parties to enhance our services. But how do we actually make sense of it all? So the crucial point is that you have to blend big data analytics and IoT. The text promises that participants are going to learn exactly how to achieve this perfect blend. And I love this analogy. Think of the industrial Internet of Things as the nervous system. It provides the physical infrastructure, the connectivity, and it gathers massive, mind-boggling volumes of raw data. But big data analytics, that's the brain. It's the engine that actually processes that entire bidirectional flow we just talked about. Without big data analytics acting as the brain, the data you offer to partners is totally meaningless, and the third-party data you bring in is basically unusable. True industry gain is uniquely unlocked when you master the skill of blending these two forces together. Basically, the IoT gathers the world, and big data analytics understands it. Which brings us to our final thought. We've seen that actually embracing IoT requires this dual strategy of offering data out to your partners while simultaneously pulling third-party data in to enhance your own services. All of it powered by the synthesis of big data analytics. So I want to leave you with this question to really reflect on. How will you blend big data analytics and IoT to architect value in your own ecosystem? Take a hard, honest look at your own data readiness and your partnerships. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep structuring those data strategies, and I cannot wait to explore more fascinating topics with you next time.